Alrighty, let's get started with your warm-up for the day. First thing that we're going to do for our lower body warm-up is we're going to do some scoops. So we're going to stick one heel out in front of the body, and then we're going to swoop the arms down. We're going to do this 5 times on each leg. So we are just swooping the arms down. That's 2 and 3, trying to keep this leg straight and feeling the stretch throughout the back of the leg. 4 and 5. Before we switch to the other side, we're going to do the same thing. Stick one heel out, do 1. We're going to do 5 total. 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, next we're going to start to warm up the hips. So we're going to open the gate, bringing one knee up, putting all of our weight on one leg, and then rotating the hip outwards. If you need to hold onto something for support, that is totally fine. We're going to do 5 of these on each side. So that is 3 and 4 and 5. All right, same thing on the other side. We're going to shift all of our weight onto one leg, and then we're going to bring one knee up and rotate it out to the side. Trying to keep the rest of our body nice and still. That is 3 and 4 and 5. All right, from here we're going to take a little bit of a wide stance with our feet. Toes can be facing forward or slightly pointed out. We want to make sure we're keeping our core nice and tight and our shoulders back. We never want to be rounding our back. From here we're going to bend down and just try to touch the floor or get as close to the floor as you can. So here, just shifting down, trying to touch the floor, and then I'm going to walk my hands over to touch one foot. And if you can only get this far, then just kind of point towards that foot, and then I'm going to walk my hands to touch the other foot, trying to feel a stretch throughout the backs of my legs. We're just going to stay like this for a few moments or until I feel like I've gotten a good stretch throughout the backs of my legs. And then we're going to take an even wider stance. So we want the stance to be really, really wide with the toes facing forward. Here I'm going to lunge into one side of this stretch. So I'm just bending this knee and keeping this leg straight. Bending down, coming up, bending down, coming up. So that was 1 on each side. We're going to do a total of 3 on each side, so 2 more. Bending down, feeling a little bit of a stretch throughout this outstretched leg. Coming up, bending down, and then 1 more on each side. Down and up, and down and up. Alrighty, from here we are going to come to the floor into a tabletop position. So on the hands and knees, you are more than welcome to grab a little exercise mat to put underneath you if that would be more comfortable. And from here, we're going to come onto the hands and knees, now into a child's pose. So stepping or just shifting the knees a little bit wider. We're going to bring the toes together, sit down on the heels, and then we're going to outstretch the arms out in front of our body, trying to stretch them as far as they can go to feel a stretch throughout the whole back of the body. Feeling this for just a few seconds, I will do a 10 count here, counting down from 10 in this stretched position. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, coming up now ever so slightly, we are going to do some, I like to call them thread the needle. So we're going to take one hand underneath the other hand. We're going to stretch that out and try to bring the shoulder to the ground. This is a great rotational stretch, and it will help to stretch the back a little bit more. Coming back up, rotating again. We're going to do a total of 3 here. Coming back up, rotating one last time. There we go. All right, switching to the other side, we're going to take that other arm underneath that outstretched arm, try to bring the shoulder to the ground. Come back up, we're going to do 3 total. This is 2. Coming back up, we've got 1 more. There we go. All right, and so from the tabletop position, what we're going to do is just create a little more space. So we're going to step our knees back and step our hands forward into a modified push-up position. From here, what you can do is you can bring your toes to the ground and bring your knees up off the ground for a standard push-up, or you can keep your knees on the ground for a modified push-up. So we are going to do 10 push-ups. If a modified push-up is too difficult, you can start on the ground, like in this position with your hands right underneath your shoulders, making sure to keep your core tight the entire time, and then just pressing yourself as high as you possibly can. So that may only be a little bit, but we just want to try to press from the ground if we can. So we're going to do 10 push-ups, trying to keep the core nice and tight the entire time and trying to touch our chest to the ground with every rep. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. There we go. And if 10 is too difficult at this time, you can always try to just do as many as you can right now and then try to add on 1 push-up every session. All right, now that we are up from this tabletop position, we're going to do some body weight squats. So I'm going to have you step your feet a little bit wider than shoulder width apart, and we're going to point the toes out slightly. From here, we're going to make sure our shoulders stay pinned back, chest is tall and proud, and we are contracting our core, keeping that nice and tight so that if someone were to come and slap you in the stomach, it wouldn't hurt because you're contracting your core. From here, we are going to break at the hips, the same time that we bend the knees, coming down into an air squat, trying to have our thighs parallel to the ground, and then standing up. So I'm going to turn to the side and do the same thing. My feet are in that same position, a little bit wider than shoulder width apart, toes slightly pointed out. My shoulders are back, chest is up, and my core is tight. I'm going to break at the hips at the same time that I bend my knees, coming down into an air squat, trying to have my thighs parallel to the ground, and then standing up. We're going to go ahead and do 10 of these together. One last thing, you want to make sure that your knees are going over your toes. So if your toes are pointing in this direction, you want your knees to also point in this direction. If your toes are pointing in this direction, you do not want your knees to be going in or out. So we're going to go ahead and do 10 air squats together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, to start our upper body warm-up, we are going to do some windmills. So with just one arm, we are going to rotate that arm up and over and back just a few times, about 10 times, going each direction. So we're going to do some going backwards, and then we're going to go forwards. And what we're doing here is moving the shoulder through the full range of motion. So only do this if it's comfortable for you. We don't want to be experiencing any pain. Moving on to the other arm, we're going to do about 10, maybe 7, going backwards. There we go. Getting some movement here, and then going forwards. Moving the shoulder through its full range of motion, getting everything warmed up. And then from here, what we're going to do is outstretch one arm across the body. Take one hand, grab onto your elbow, and pull it into the body. You should feel a stretch throughout the back of your shoulder. And then we're going to switch sides. We're going to do this 3 times total, bringing your other arm into your body, switching sides again. Just trying to warm up our shoulders a little bit more. That is 2 on each side. We've got 1 more here. All right. There we go. And now what we're going to do is take one arm up and over. So we are pretending like we are grabbing the back of our shirt. And then we're just going to take our arm and try to press a little bit backwards on the elbow. You should feel a nice stretch all throughout the back of the arm or the tricep. And we're going to do just 2 of these on each side. So alternating arms, holding for a few seconds, and then switching. There we go. That is 2 on each side. Okay, so in the standing position, we are going to do some ankle stretches. So shifting our weight to be just on one leg, we're going to pick one leg up off the ground, and you're welcome to use something for support if you need to here. And we are going to rotate the ankle in a circle, stretching out all those muscles in the ankles that have been working really hard in all of our cardio training. We're going to switch to the other side. We're going to do this 2 times total. So this is one. We're going to do one more repetition on each side. Switching legs. There we go. Getting a nice stretch. Moving the ankle throughout its full range of motion. And then one more stretch on the other side as well. All right, and then moving onto the ground, we're going to come into a kneeling position. I'm just going to have you do some wrist stretches here. So I'm going to sit down on my heels. The first thing we can do is just stretch the fingertips back to stretch the wrists for a few seconds on one side and then for a few seconds on the other. You should feel not only a stretch in the wrist, but also a stretch throughout the forearms. And then doing some wrist circles. This should feel especially good if you've been working, typing, writing a whole lot recently. And then we're going to press our hands onto the ground, pressing our fingertips onto the ground to stretch out the forearms a little bit more. You can rock back and forth to get a really deep stretch here in whatever way that is going to be most comfortable for you. There we go. All right, and that concludes our warm-up. I hope you have a great workout.